Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and we're again talking about hockey. I just wanted to first take a couple of moments to just express my sincere gratitude and appreciation for all of you on the last video. That last video has garnered about 3 times as more views than I've had so far in this channel. So it's given me motivation to keep going, and I'm just really excited to keep this momentum going, especially with the NHL and as well as this new Utah hockey team. This video, we are actually going to cover something that I have been seeing requested across X, as well as listening to even just public radio stations. I feel like there's this general not really knowing too much about hockey and trying to understand it. So I am by no means a hockey expert, but I would say that I have probably more than average knowledge of than your typical sports fan regarding hockey. So this video, we are going to cover the basic premise of hockey, the basic rules, just so that way, as you all are starting to watch the playoffs, now that you're interested in the NHL, you'll be able to understand a little bit about what's going on. If I miss any important rules or details that any of you hockey fans feel like should have been included in this video, feel free to dump them down there in the comments. Want to make this a inclusive platform for everybody to help everyone else get up to speed. So let's just start with the basics. Hockey is played with 6 players on each side. One of them is being the goalie. You typically have 3 forwards and 2 defensemen. They play in a constant game. You're constantly moving. There's no timeouts unless there's a puck out of play or a penalty or something like that. So because there's this continuous motion, you are actually shifting out your players as the game is going. And those are called, when you shift out players, it's called a line change. And essentially each hockey team has 4 lines of players that they swap in and out, and they try to swap those in during moments of when their other players are tired. If you can think about it, try sprinting, or even for those who do skating your hardest and sprinting your hardest as you can. You're going to get winded pretty fast, even the most athletic individuals. So lines only happen for about 45-60 seconds before they are swapped out. And that is to constantly keep as many fresh legs as possible. So that's why sometimes you will see hockey players just kind of shoot the puck into the end of the zone and then not really chase it. It's because they're using that opportunity to get some fresh legs out there. Hockey's played not in quarters, they play in periods. So there's 3 periods each that are 20 minutes long, and there is an intermission in between each period. And if it's tied at the end of regulation, they go into an overtime, just like a lot of other sports do. This hockey, to make it more exciting as well as quicker in the NHL anyways, they actually play 3-on-3 hockey plus the goalie. So it makes it a lot more exciting. It makes it fast. It can also make it a little bit fluky at times. But we'll get into the amplifications of overtime here in a second. But that is how overtime works. They play that for 5 minutes, and if they are still tied at the end of that 5 minutes, then they go into a shootout where they do a best of 5, similar to soccer, and whichever team has the most points after that shootout is declared the winner. In the playoffs, though, they don't do the normal. They don't do the 3-on-3 or the shootout. They just do a continuation of each period. Since the playoffs are, a lot more important, they want to make sure that it's still as the same feel as a standard game, not necessarily as as fluky as maybe a 3-on-3 or a shootout. But it is a golden goal. So essentially the next point wins in the overtime. They don't play a full period. They play until the next team scores, and then that team is declared the winner. Let's talk now about the hockey rink itself, because it can be a little bit confusing trying to figure out what all the lines and the dots mean. So I'll have a graphic up here as I explain what each of these lines mean. So let's start off. First off, you have the center line, which is the red center line that goes right through the middle of the rink. It divides the rink in half, and then the dot in the center of that is a face-off spot, and that's used at the beginning of each game as well as the beginning of each period and after each goal has been scored. Moving outwards, you have, we'll talk about the dots here in a second and what they all mean, but let's talk about the lines first. Let's talk about the blue lines. So the two blue lines divide this playing surface into 3 different zones. The zone that has your goal in it is called your defensive zone. And that's obviously you're the one you're trying to defend the puck from being scored there. The middle zone is called the center zone, or the neutral zone is what it's mostly referred to as, the neutral zone. And then is called the one away from your goal, and the one you're trying to score into is called the offensive zone or the attacking zone. And so that's why it's divided up into 3 sections. And we'll talk about why they have to be sorted out that way. You have also a red line at the end of each zone, and that's called the goal line. And the puck must cross the goal line into the goal in order for a goal to be scored. It's not necessarily needs to hit the net. It just needs to pass that red line. There are 9 face-off dots on the ice where the puck is dropped and putting back into play. The referee and the linesman will blow their whistle in order to stop the play, which also stops the game time on the clock. You'll notice that there's 2 in the offensive zone, 2 in the defensive zone, and then 5 in the neutral zone. The light blue space in front of the goal is called the crease. Players trying to score a goal are not allowed to stand in that zone. They can kind of skate through it, and if the puck is right in there, then sometimes they can be in there a little bit, but you can't just stand in there trying to interfere with the goalie. And then the other red semicircle that you see in the middle in the neutral zone is just called the referee's crease. That's where they go to just relay the penalties or use the replay as well. You also have the penalty boxes on the sides, and that's where people go if there ever is a penalty. So that should give you a basic idea of what the rink entails. So now that you know a little bit about the hockey rink itself, let's talk a little bit about some of the rules, the main rules, and some of the penalties. The first rule that you should be aware of, that's the most confusing, I think, for everybody, is the rule on offsides. So the rule of offsides, it's different than soccer. Offsides means that the puck has to be the first thing to enter the offensive zone. So you cannot have any of your teammates or players go in before that. The puck has to cross in there first. And if the puck leaves the offensive zone, everybody must touch back on the blue line before going back in again. And so that's why you might see a lot of instances where people, they get the puck and they skate around in the neutral zone before entering in. So they have to wait for all of their teammates to come back out before they can enter it in. And you'll also notice that that's why you see a lot of defenders. They try to defend that blue line to make it difficult to easily enter in that zone. And that's why sometimes you'll see hockey players just kind of shoot the puck into behind the goalie and into the back line. Because sometimes it's harder to get through just skating through. It's easier to just shoot the goal and then have your team go in and try and check the players there and do that. That's also why when you say you have defensemen too, they not only help in defending your goal, but also they defend the blue lines when you are on the offensive zone. So that's why you usually see 3 people up close to the net, but then you have 2 people who kind of stand by the blue line on the offensive zone, because they're trying to protect and keep the puck into the zone and not allow the opposing team to come out of their defensive zone. So now you can kind of know why everyone is positioned a little bit in that way. If there is an offsides that does occur, then you have to they stop the play, and then they have to do a face off on the dot outside of the offensive zone, there in the neutral zone. Another rule that is very important to know is icing. So icing is when a player shoots the puck from their half of the rink, so behind the red center line, and they shoot it into the opposing team or into their own offensive zone. And they kind of stop it early, but it's more in line of if an opposing player reaches that puck before your teammate does, whoever shot that in there, then it's considered icing. And so if you want to shoot the puck into the zone without it being icing, you must cross your red center line. If you ice the puck, then the puck has to go back to your own defensive zone or the opposing team's offensive zone and face off there. Another rule to know about icing is that you cannot substitute your own players. If they're tired or anything like that, they have to stay on the ice. And the reason why icing exists is because they don't want teams to be able to stall and delay when they're ahead by just continuously shooting the puck onto the opposite side of the ring. So that is the rule on icing. Now let's talk about the power play. We'll talk a little bit about penalties here in a second, but the power play is when an opposing team commits a penalty and their player has to go into the penalty box. It's not like basketball where, you get fouls and you just get to keep fouling until you get 5 in college or 6 in the NBA, and then you're fouled out. If you commit a penalty, you have to go and sit, and then your team has to play a man down usually it's 2 minutes. A lot of the minor infractions are for 2 minutes, but sometimes they can actually escalate that to even longer, or sometimes even have major penalties. But we won't really talk about that in this video. We're going to stick with just the basic ones that you see most often. So a penalty occurs and you have to sit out for 2 minutes. And so naturally you're down a person, and so you kind of turtle up and play less aggressively. And your goal is to just try and kill the 2 minutes. And so that's why they call it a penalty kill, if you are able to do that. When you are the opposing team on a power play, there is no icing. And so that's why you can sometimes see the team that is trying to kill the penalty can just shoot the puck off to the opposing side of the rink. And the power play is when a lot of goals happen. Not all of them, but it's a really good opportunity for the opposing team. If the opposing team scores, while they score while they are on the power play, then the penalty is over and the opposing team can come out. Unless it's a major penalty, and then they have to stay in there even if a goal is scored. Being a huge Sharks fan, and now it's kind of funny because I now follow Vegas too, but there was a huge game 7 where a major penalty occurred, and it was controversial, but the Sharks were able to score, I think, 4 goals, come back from a 3-goal deficit and score 4 goals in game 7 to win that series. So it was intense and exciting. You should go back and watch those highlights. But let's talk a little bit about penalties. Disclaimer though, I'm not a full expert on it, and also penalties the referees kind of have a pretty good leeway or some sense of discretion on how to enforce these penalties. So there are some that are pretty straightforward, like high sticking. You can't obviously hit somebody in the face with your stick. That's a penalty. Or if you hit somebody high with your stick. There's too many men, meaning that if somebody subs out before the opposing person leaves the ice and they make a play on the puck, then you can be penalized for too many men. Tripping, can't trip the opposing people with your stick. There's slashing, and that's where you hit somebody with your stick, not making a play on the puck, and you hit somebody else. Roughing is kind of where you just use excessive force and you're punching people or shoving people. It's usually the result of fighting or fisticuffs fighting. There's holding. That's where you hold somebody and prevent them from being able to get to the puck or or prevent them from getting to the place where they need to. Interference is where you use your body to get in the way of an opposing team without trying to make a play on the puck. There's cross-checking. That's where you take your stick and use the middle of your stick to hit people. You can't do that. And then there's also even delay of game, where if you are, stalling and you're trying to prevent an opposing team from scoring, and you're in your own defensive zone and you shoot the puck and it goes out of play without being deflected, then that can be a delay of game penalty as well. There's a lot of different other penalties that I'm probably missing here, but those are the basic ones that you will see. One other thing that you might see in a hockey game that you're wondering what the heck is going on is the term pulling the goalie. And what that happens is there might be multiple reasons why you might pull the goalies, but the two main ones is, number one is if a penalty has been called on the opposing team and you still possess the puck. Because if you are still possessing the puck and they call somebody else for a penalty, it's called a delayed penalty, where they do not blow the whistle dead. You can actually still continue to play, and they allow you to be able to still take advantage of that opportunity to score while you possess the puck. And then once the opposing team then possesses the puck, then the play is immediately blown dead, and then the penalty is issued. So if it's possible, you have the puck, you're possessing the puck, and you can see a delayed penalty, sometimes you will pull the goalie to get an extra attacker to come in and try and score a goal during that opportunity, because it doesn't matter if they possess the puck, they can't score against you. So that's one instance in where you will see the goalie being pulled. The most obvious and frequent one that you use is if a team is behind and the game is almost over, you have the puck, you want that extra person to try and score to tie the game, then you will pull the goalie so that way you can have. A lot of the times it sometimes works, a lot of the times it doesn't. It is more successful than an onside kick, I would say, way more successful, but it also is a huge risk because now your goalie is completely empty, and these NHL players are super good at shooting the puck. Sometimes all they need to do is possess it at their own end of the rink, and they be able to shoot it all the way across the rink and score the goal, which then usually puts the game too far out of reach. So that is the general idea of hockey. Again, if I missed something, feel free to comment down in the comments. But a couple of other nuances to hockey that I feel like are important to share at this point in time, and that is, first of all, how kind of the standings work, how playoff teams are chosen, that sort of thing. So hockey actually only has, they still have two conferences like a lot of the other three major sports. They have the Western Conference and Eastern Conference, so split just like the NBA. But instead of 3 divisions, they actually only have 2 divisions. That's been in place for, I think, around the past 10, 12 years, somewhere like that. So they have 4 divisions, so each division has 8 teams. So the Western has the Pacific Division and the Central Division. The Eastern Conference has the Metropolitan Division and the Atlantic Division. The NHL, the new one in Utah, will replace the Coyotes in the Central Division, where they will be playing teams like the Stars, the Avalanche, the Blackhawks, the Wild, the Blues. I'm just trying to go as fast as I can off the top of my head, but I hope I named probably the majority of them there. You are actually not evaluated on your record. Your record does matter because it does equate to points, but points is what matters the most. It's a little bit similar to soccer, but a team that wins the game is given 2 points, and then a loss in overtime is worth 1 point. And then if you just lose in regulation, it's worth 0 points. I think there's been some noise. I don't know if they'll make this change anytime soon, but I am a proponent of making a win in regulation worth 3 points and then a win in regulation worth or a win in overtime worth 2 points, loss in overtime worth 1 point. Just because to me it doesn't really make sense how, a team can, not. I feel like that would promote teams to try and win in regulation a little bit more. There was also some controversy. I can't even remember which two teams it was at this point in time, but one team actually had more wins than another team, but because that team had more losses in overtime, they actually, I think it was the Capitals, actually went to the playoffs over, I think it was the Flyers, either the Flyers or the Penguins, I can't remember. So I think by making a win worth 3 points in regulation would help resolve that. But anyways, that's how that works. And then how the playoff seeding works is each division, since there's 8 of them, the top 3 from each division make the playoffs. And then the final, and then 2 from each conference are also the 2 left over who have the highest points after those 3 from each division, then are chosen as wild cards. And it's also a little bit different because since the reorganization to the 4 division model, it's not like basketball where you just seed 1 through 8 in each conference. It's actually it's almost like you have this divisional playoff beforehand. The best division winner will play the worst wild card. Then the other division winner will play the best wild card. And then the teams will play each other within the teams left over. The second and third team in each division play each other in the playoffs. So again, it's almost like you have this interdivisional round, and the winner of that plays the 1 seed of their division. So that might explain a little bit of why certain teams are matched up in this playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, it pretty much works itself out almost exactly how you would have it if it was 1 through 8. So the Eastern Conference is a bad example. But for instance, if you go to the Western Conference, you have the Dallas Stars, who are in the Central Division. They were the best division winner. They are playing the worst wild card, which is the Golden Knights, who is from the Pacific Division. Also, you'll notice that the Jets and the Avalanche both have, who are the 2 seed and the 3 seed in the Central Division. They actually both have more points than the Oilers and the Kings, who are 2 and 3 in the Pacific Division. But the Jets and the Avalanche play for the chance to play either the Stars or the Knights. And more so than not, I mean, this year might be different because the Knights are up 2-0. But the idea, though, is that usually the number 1 seed will win. And so the 2 or 3 winner will usually play the 1 from their same division. So it almost is like this divisional playoff where and then once they kind of get through the first 2 rounds that way, then the conference finals are usually the best team that comes out of each division. That doesn't always happen because sometimes the wild card throws in some wrenches, but it is a controversial, I would say, for the least, of how NHL does their playoffs. There's a lot of people who don't like it because, if you are a really good team like the Avalanche, you have the 4th best team, or you are the 4 seed. As far as the 4th best record, in the Western Conference, but you are stuck playing the 2nd best team. Or the Jets could feel the same way. They are the 2nd best team in the conference, but they're stuck playing the 4th best team in the very first round when maybe they feel like they should, be able to play the Predators, or someone like, or the Kings or something like that. So it does make it to where some really good teams can get knocked out pretty early on, but I actually like it because it makes divisions even more hostile towards each other. It develops the rivalries. There's a lot of familiarity, and so you get a lot of intense matches in the first round of the playoffs. So that is how the playoff seeding and points and how all of that works. Well, if you made it this far in this video, then hopefully you've learned quite a bit about hockey and its basics. And hopefully that was helpful for you, and you'll be able to use that knowledge to now understand what's going on in the playoffs right now. Thanks again for watching, and if you did like this content, please again feel free to support it by liking, subscribing, and commenting below. Was there something that I missed that is important to understand? Please comment below and let our new fans of the NHL know. Thanks again. We'll make sure to keep busting out this content, and until next time, take care, guys.